the thing about a vacation rental is like, okay, you can book it for that week and then it's ready the next week. You book a property for 3 months, well, it takes it out for, a quarter of the year, right? So, yep, that's why we need more properties. And that's why we keep our prices low to attract more landlords all the time.
What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host,
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I am your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's up, E?
My brother, so good to see you. It's the end of April, bro. Like, I don't know where time is going.
By the time this comes out, it's probably gonna be towards the end of May, and then we're gonna be getting into summer. So,
like, it's crazy. Like, I literally feel like it was yesterday that we were in Nashville, and now it's end of April. Soon it's gonna be May, But life is good. Real estate market, it's interesting. We have some clients looking for listings to buy, which is fun because like you're seeing a lot of properties that are already running as vacation rentals coming up on the market, which is something that we've talked about quite a bit. And as you walk in them, you can see why, right? It's very much like the episode we did with Kristen. It's just like they're just kind of plain, kind of vanilla, kind of like cheapish looking, right? So there's a lot of opportunity from there. And then we also have clients with properties on the market, and there is interest, and then people get kind of cold feet, and then they come back, and then there is, so it's a very interesting time. And again, it's all a matter of like running your numbers properly and making sure that things make sense for you. But it's kind of like now an offer takes a couple of days to come in. And I remember 18 months ago, we were like, it needs to be done within 24 hours or the house is gone, or 3 hours and the house is gone,
Yeah. I mean, we're under contract on a new house just for us to live in. And, we were able to negotiate the price down, which was unheard of for the last 2 years, So we'll see. Now we got to sell mine. So we'll see.
So you'll have first-hand experience on that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm really excited for today's guest because I'm going to be taking notes because this is an area that I do not claim to be an expert in whatsoever. And we've done some stuff with midterm rentals. But today we've got Brian Payne on the show, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Furnish Finder, a midterm rental marketplace, landlords and travelers that can stay months at a time. He's also helped build KeyCheck, which provides landlords tools like tenant screening, custom leases, and online rent. So without further ado, Brian, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Here.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this one because like I said, like this is something that we've done, but I feel like there's so much more for me to learn in this area. And who better than the guy that co-founded Furnish Finder?
Well, shoot, let's go through it together. I mean, there is a lot to learn, but it's so doable. You guys are obviously short-term rental hosts, landlords, leaders right now in the industry. So, I mean, the good news is you already have inventory, right? So making your inventory ready for a midterm rental versus a short-term rental, pretty darn easy.
Yeah, I love it. We're going to dive deep on that today. But I'm curious, and he and I always love to do this, is just to dive deep, especially with founders, of how did this whole thing come to be? What made you think to start Furnish Finder?
Okay, so rewind 2014, or probably even before that. I'd say 2011, 2012. Working for Boston Scientific, great company, medical device sales, Central California. And just had a really unique opportunity there because I'm in the cath lab, ER, ICU, wherever these patients are, but more importantly, wherever the nurses are, right? So I got a a firsthand look of a big housing problem. So, um, what I discovered was that travel nurses, they're traveling all over all the time. They're taking 3-month contracts all over the nation, even today, especially today. And so they are always looking for housing. Housing was the hardest part for them. So say, we're finishing up with a internal defibrillator case, doctors like sewing up the wound or whatever. And then we just all sort of chat, turn on some music. And so my passion was real estate, and I was a landlord, had, 12 properties renting to travel nurses. Sometimes I'd even find a nurse in the cath lab or OR suite saying, "Oh, well, you need a place to stay. Literally, I can walk you over there after this case and give you the keys. It's turnkey, ready to go." So, what do they say? I'll always be selling or always be closing. Like
Mhm.
that was easy, right? But yeah, so that was my intro to midterm rentals, and it just fit for me and my wife, who started the company. So that's who we were looking for, was travel nurses and any other type of traveling professional staying monthly, ideally 3 or so months was our sweet spot. I had a regular job. Lots of your listeners have regular jobs, right? So it's one of those things where you can make more money than you can with a traditional 12-month rental, but, with midterm, you're getting 1.5 more, I would say, than what you can get unfurnished, just without turning it over like a hotel every, whatever, 4 nights or 5 nights. So, yeah, that was attractive to me because I had a W-2 job, and I didn't want to, change anything at the time. So, yeah, finding traveling professionals, renting, monthly was kind of our ticket. So that's initially how we started, was with the idea, and then we grew from there. There's so much I could talk about.
And then you just decided to build a whole massive marketplace
You're
for
right. Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you do from there, right? So, I mentioned we were landlords, and we realized, like, okay, well, we felt like we were really at a unique position to say, look, we've stumbled onto something that is really unique. And yeah, we could keep scaling and, for take our 12 to 24, 36, 124 properties, but we're still capped on the amount of properties we could own or put under contract, right? So it's like, um, the bigger picture for us, and frankly, I was looking for a reason, not just looking, praying for a reason to get out of that industry. Although I'm very grateful, it's a very difficult industry to be in because it's you're on call all the time. 2 cars everywhere you go. Um, Nights, weekends, entertaining. Yeah, it was really difficult. So I really, in order to save my marriage, really, it was like, okay, you got to do something else. So I was literally praying for an opportunity. And then we said, look, I mean, look at this information that we have. Maybe this is something much bigger than we think. And the need is greater on a national level. And it turned out it was.
man. So what year did Furnish Finder start?
2014. Yeah, we
2014.
started kind of out of the gate, wanted to get our feet wet, just trying to figure out what is our business model. And I'd encourage you that, like, hey, get started. Like, if you have an idea, get started at it. You don't know, like, chances are you're not going to finish where you start, right? You hope.
Mm.
But yeah, in our case, we pivoted and changed our business model 2 years later. So, um,
So what was the original business model, and what was it after the first 2 years?
yeah, so Emmanuel, it was kind of like a concierge type of service for travelers that are on contract, and we would manage all of their housing. So we would, procure the property, and we would set up a property from start to finish, in terms of like putting in utilities, furniture, making it rent ready, taking on the lease, and everything like that. So it was just a much more different model than where we are now, um, and a bit of a hamster wheel, if I'm telling you the truth. It was really difficult, and yeah, we were forced to say, okay, like, what do you do? Do you pivot or do you die? And the latter is not an option. So we pivoted into this, which is just a better business model overall. And judging by the amount of landlords that we have that have really adopted Furnish Finder as their kind of midterm rental marketplace, I think it was the right call.
Yeah,
I would,
absolutely. It
I
almost
would,
sounds like you were gonna be doing arbitrage at a very large kind of scale in terms of like, so you were like renting it, furnishing it. It sounds like a nightmare. So I am, yeah, you look
That's where,
great
yeah,
now.
that's kind of where we were going. And yeah,
Yeah.
you guys probably arbitrage at some level, right? But to scale that on a national level, and yeah, it just presents lots of different problems. And then, you can't charge too much, right? Otherwise, they're not going to use you. So it's like, yeah, it was a pretty difficult.
mm. So how many users are on the platform now?
Users. So let me
I
see.
should probably clarify that because you can
Yep.
categorize users in different buckets, but
Sure, and I could still answer that. So every month we're getting about 800,000 new users on the site.
wow. Good for
Yeah,
congratulations, man. That's incredible. Holy cow.
thank you so much.
Seriously.
Yeah, greatly appreciate that. Thank you. And then in terms of landlords, we have over 200,000 now. And so our business model is a little bit different than an Airbnb that you guys are used to. It's more of a kind of we facilitate, like we help you with the direct booking. Like I think a lot of property managers like yourselves and others are looking into, like, well, how can I capture that direct booking? And that's what we provide. We've always been about the direct booking. That's what we like to do. Um, and so, yeah, essentially it's you can come, you list your property. It's very inexpensive to list your property. And then you have tools that you can use through KeyCheck, like you mentioned in the intro. So if you wanted to screen a tenant, if you want to get a custom lease, send over to get an e-sign to your new tenant that you found on Furnish Finder. Maybe you want renter's insurance, online rent payment, all those types of tenant tools. And we're coming out with a new one, kind of a a security deposit alternative, which is really cool. It allows landlords to, instead of take a security deposit, because again, keep in mind we're talking monthly rentals, right? So you may not just want anybody with a credit card to book a place for 3 months. You probably want to know a little bit more information about them. So yeah, so essentially, instead of a security deposit, we're kind of partnering with a company that's allowing them to pay a small fee, and then it kind of covers them in the event of eventual damage or loss. So yeah, that's kind of the overall um, kind of outlook about Furnish Finder. And I think what we're seeing is just tons of landlords realizing that the midterm rental space is not a competition necessarily with short-term rental. They use it in addition to some instead of, and like me, I preferred that longer term tenant for my furnished rental. I wanted them
Mhm.
to stay, 3 months, but there's a lot of things going on. We'll call it like a regulation. It could be a city, it could be a HOA. So maybe a landlord is getting squeezed, or there's something coming down the pipe, or whatever the reason. Um, you don't have to tuck your tail as a landlord and go back, ditch the furniture and go back to that 12-month lease. There's an option, and it's called midterm rentals. So, but the other alternative, not really alternative, but the way that we use short-term rental and midterm rental combined is those shoulder seasons, right? So if you're in a seasonal area, it's a great adjunct to say, well, during my slow season, I'd rather just get a tenant in there for 3 to 4 months. And then, once it heats up again, you're boom, right back on the vacation rental websites.
Mhm. Looking at your users, right? What percentage now do you say are still like, is your core still the travel nurses, or what demographic like do you now see after so many years?
Yep, fantastic question. So Yes, at the beginning, I mean, by design, we absolutely targeted travel nurses. It was an army of travelers, 80,000 to 100,000 travelers that are going out per year,
Hmm.
that are traveling 4 times a year, um, and are always in that 3-month cycle. So we hitched our wagon there for sure.
Hmm.
So, in 2016, obviously, I would say 100%. And over the years, as we started to grow, expand, and just get more exposure overall, we're at about 50-50 right now. So healthcare is still important. Healthcare is still growing as an industry.
Hmm.
Um, it's just that there are lots more industries out there and a lot more traveler types out there that require this type of housing.
Yeah.
So, for instance, it could be, yes, of course, travel nurses. And I say travel nurses, but that includes all types of travel healthcare, techs, reps, nurses, MAs, PAs, all of the above, right? Physical therapists. The next is, a lot of remote workers. It's just in general, it's kind of all encompassing term for other industries. Could be an IT worker, could be an engineer, but they're out. They're a remote worker, digital nomads, people that have really kind of solidified that as their lifestyle. Are really big on our site. Insurance, housing is really big.
Hmm.
Have big insurance companies always looking to place their families or their displaced families in monthly furnished rentals. And I believe, Mike, you had just mentioned like you had to put somebody in a furnished finder recently as well. So it's the same thing, right? There's always circumstances that, um, at some point you might be in the need for a 3-6 month rental.
Hmm.
Say you're a real estate buyer or seller. You're redoing your house or whatnot. This happened to us. And we hop in a furnished finder for 3 months while we're redoing the kitchen and all the bathrooms and all of that, right?
Hmm.
Same with
That's one of our bread and
athletes.
butters, and I didn't even think of it as a niche, but we get a lot of bookings at our 21 unit that people are just renovating their homes. Like, it's an affluent area, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I've got this kitchen reno. I don't feel like being there.
No.
I need a month or 6 weeks or
Totally,
whatever."
and that's a luxury. I mean, these are, people that can afford it. So
Mhm.
they're saying, "Look, I know I'm carrying a mortgage and, a rent, but I don't wanna live like that. I don't wanna live a yeah, I don't wanna inhale the dust. I don't wanna
Mhm.
just
I don't
deal
want
with
to
the
live scrappy.
disruption,"
Yeah, yeah.
right? I want it predictable, and they'll pay for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
So what it's funny, like, and I was more like I had listings on Furnish Finder early on, less now. Um, be completely transparent. It probably doesn't look good with you, but it is.
Oh, we're good.
It
It's all
is
good.
what it
We're
is.
s we're
Uh,
still bros. I'm
yeah,
gonna
we're
win
still
you
broke,
back though, like, and we've
Yeah.
changed a lot,
No, no, and that was my question, right? Because I'm like, to me, what one of the things was is there was always a lot of pushback in terms of like what the rates were. So I couldn't find people that wanted to pay what I
I
was
get it.
charging. And then the
Yeah,
other thing was for me, and again, I haven't been on there in years, but for me at that time, it always felt like it was a good choice for smaller properties, but not for larger ones.
right?
So in your landlords that you have now, what percentage are like apartments? What percentage are houses? If somebody has a luxury house that is like 3, 4 bedroom house, is this a viable platform for them?
Yeah. So first of all, another fantastic question on on the back of your other one. So as that demographic changes,
Mhm.
right? So before it was 100% travel nurses, and what do we know
Mhm.
about travel nurses? They're on a budget, right? They take the stipend, so they're always on that budget.
Mhm.
They're trying to stay underneath that budget. So and that obviously reflects to property type. Well, rather 1 or 2 bedroom
Mhm.
versus a 3 or 4 or 5 bedroom, right?
Mhm.
But as the demographic changes on the inside, in terms of there are way more, engineers, doctors, corporate housing, travel managers, all types of other people using Furnish Finders to where it's now 50-50. So you're going to start to see those demographics shift as well in terms of, hey, what sells on Furnish Finder, right? Before, maybe, hey, it was only properties under 2,500 bucks, or yeah, as an example, and 1 or 2 bedroom. But now, those property types and the demographics of the property are changing as well to include 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses, as well, because of insurance, relocation, families, military insurance, things like that. So as the demographic changes, so do those.
I know, just again, like we were talking offline from personal experience, using it, it was interesting from the customer side because I'm always on the other side of it, posting properties for rent.
Right.
It was cool to use it from the other side. And I was blown away because there was a lot of properties on there, but a lot of them were booked till like August. So I'm like, clearly this is working for these people because the
Yep.
properties are booked. I found one like in the North Boston metro that like could meet the criteria out of a ton that actually had the availability.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're doing well, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about a vacation rental is like, okay, you can book it for that week and then it's ready the next week. You book a property for 3 months, well, it takes it out for, a quarter of the year, right? So, yep, that's why we need more properties, and that's why we keep our prices low to attract more landlords all the time. Yeah, you're not wrong though.
Love it. And the other thing I just want to reiterate because you brought it up, and I don't even know if we have to like go down this rabbit hole because if you've been involved in this podcast and in this industry over the last at least 12 months, the midterm rentals have been like the new short-term rental wave. It's like the cool kids club. A lot more people are incorporating it because it makes sense, especially from the standpoint that you said about working it into your strategy, right? So in New England, as an example, some of our properties up here, the winter tends to be the slow season.
Sure.
So that's when we make sure that all of those are on Furnish Finder for sure during our shoulder seasons, right? Because that's what helps us get through to the busier seasons.
Yep.
And the hotel we described earlier, we're completely rebuilding half of that property to put in full kitchens with laundry so that we can attract midterm rentals for
Amazing.
shoulder seasons, and it gives us more flexibility there.
Indeed.
So I just want to reiterate that because if you haven't considered this yet, or you've been hearing about it, and you're like, that's cool, whatever. You really need to take a look at this. Like really seriously take a look at it and start to look at do you know your seasonality and how can you incorporate something like this into your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, you guys know your area better than anyone, right? You know your occupancy rates, what are the trouble months? Um, and if you don't, you will. So, but yeah, keep an eye on it for sure. And Furnish Finder's another tool in your toolbox for sure.
Yeah. And it makes sense because it's one of those things that like it only makes sense for you to use it if you're gonna be thinking proactively about your occupancy. Because obviously, being that it's mostly longer term rentals, if you're in the middle of your shit season and you try to turn Furnish Finder on at that time, you might get a 3-month booking that goes into season. So again, like if you know season is coming, and if you're like in a lot of places throughout the country, slow season is coming for you, especially like in South Florida where I'm at, it makes sense for you to start looking at it now so that you can get a booking that goes through summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the guys in the grocery store or the guys that make the cards. They're always thinking to the next holiday, right? They're
Mhm.
always looking, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're things are up for 4th of July already, or whatever that future holiday is. You have to kind of think ahead, like maybe 1 quarter ahead, and go, okay, obviously, I'm in summer right now. We're doing really well.
Mhm.
But what's next, right? Is winter good for you or bad for you? What happened last year? Like, what do you want to change?
I want to pivot a little bit selfishly, but I know that the listeners will appreciate this. Is what are some tips or things that you've seen to help people succeed on Furnish Finder in particular? That like
Yep.
because it's a different platform. It's
Yeah,
very
it's
very
different.
different. So,
Right. Yep, I will say I'll answer it a few ways. Number one, professional photography is always recommended. We're integrating with Snapper, and you'll be able to purchase, a photographer to come out. Like, don't skimp on that. You've just spent hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on a property. Like, don't skimp out on $200 for professional photographs.
It's an
That like
easy way to stand out, by the way, because a lot of the properties I looked at were nice, but they did not have professional photos. And I was
I
like,
know.
man, I guess it just kind of became the standard over here. But before, that was the way to stand out. So that's an easy
It's an
opportunity.
easy way to stand out. These people are booking most of the time online. So they're not in your city, right? Looking at a property. Okay, I'll swing by Tuesday at 11. No, primarily they're calling you and they're going to, make that buying decision right online. So why not put your best foot forward? So that's an easy one. Second one is availability. If you have to keep your calendar updated, definitely can integrate with your Airbnb, VRBO, iCal. So definitely do that. And, especially when you're, entering into that shoulder season or not. But you know, if your availability starts to get stale, eventually you'll be off the map and you're going to go, well, Furnish Finder's, not sending me anything. Well, yeah, because, you have to, make sure that the system knows your availability. So that's key. And then the second thing is another thing we track is internally, what are your metrics? Are you accessing the site? Are you interacting with the tenants, during the tenant within the tenant leads? Are you How often, what is your response rate? All of these types of things kind of will give you a higher rate of a higher ranking on the site. So basically the short answer is like do what you're supposed to do as a landlord, and tell the system when it's available, right? And then when leads come in and tenants are interested, then you interact with them. And then once you find that tenant, great, you use the key check tools, everything you need to secure that tenant, and your calendar is updated so we know, okay, this one's not available until September or whatnot, and it works for everybody. And then once September is starting to come up, then we realize, okay, here comes September, and we start boosting your ranking again on the site without you doing anything. Most of our travelers are booking anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks out.
Got it.
Interesting. So that's the booking window on average.
Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes a little bit longer, but yeah, 1 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'm on the site now. So like tell me in your guys' experience, because I see you also do a lot of rooms rentals.
Yep, rooms is something that it started with travel nurses, again, the
Mhm.
budget traveler, the extreme budget traveler is willing to have a shared space. And some of these shared spaces are really, really nice in terms of like,
Mhm.
hey, practically a basement with a private entrance and all of that. So, but it was a great income source. There's a lot of people, empty nesters, for example. There's going, well, geez, we're sitting here in this 5-bedroom house and we only spend half a year here. What do we, let's put it on
Mhm.
Furnish Finder. So rooms is something that we'll probably continue to have. It's also a strategy again for those um, higher room properties. It is something that sometimes folks will do that and offer a rental by the room. So a
So that was
four
my
bedroom
question.
house
So
by the
do
room.
you see people doing that? Like, do you see people saying room one, room two,
Yeah,
room three
they
for
do it.
someone?
And our system can
Yeah.
accommodate it. Each room will have its own calendar. That it's a strategy for sure. Whether it's your
Mhm.
strategy, I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a strategy.
Does it make a big difference if you allow pets or not? Because on the vacation rental side, people are more sketchy on the pet side.
It's a
But if
great
I'm
point.
thinking longer term stay, like I am not going anywhere without my pets, right? So if I'm
Right.
staying there 3, 4 months.
Exactly. So yeah, for a longer term stay, it's a little bit more accepted, But think of this, if you're not, and I respect and I understand, like, hey, this is your property. Again, you
Mhm.
spent $1 million on this property, or you've got a portfolio of properties and this is yours. And so you definitely do not have to accept pets. But keep in mind, you're taking a third off the table when it comes, not in price, but in terms of opportunity in tenant pool. So it's about, the number's about a third in this space anyway, midterm rentals that travel with a pet, or at least that prefer to travel with a pet.
And is it standard, kind of like with short-term rentals, to charge some type of pet fee
Oh
or
yeah.
yeah.
Any pet owner understands there's a pet fee, maybe pet rent, maybe regulation on breed or something, or number of pets, right? You're not walking in with
35
yeah,
cats.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, yeah. So that's well understood. Same as like a cleaning fee, it's understood. But
Mhm.
I mentioned that security deposit alternative earlier. This we're hoping that we can convert, like, let's just say, we can convert a lot more landlords to go, well, you know what? Now I'm comfortable taking a pet because they cover pet damage up to, let's say, $5,000 or whatever the policy would be. But if they're covered up to $5,000 for pet damage, and really it's only like X amount of dollars a month, and it's really inexpensive comparatively to what you would put out of pocket to move in, it's kind of a no-brainer. So we hope that that product will help kind of translate and encourage more landlords to accept pets.
Hmm.
That's a good point.
From your standpoint, where do you see the midterm industry going?
Yeah, great question. I think it will. We're going to start to see things combine within midterm and short term. We definitely call it the midterm rental industry, midterm rentals, but it again, it's another strategy. So you're going to start to see vacation rental sites and midterm rental sites kind of converge a little bit. Um, Airbnb, who we love, they are, I think, over 20% of their revenue is in this space, is in the midterm rental space, greater than
Mhm.
28 days. Um, Year over year, this grew. Longer term stays grew over 70%. Like, right, I think it was even before we were actually live. You asked, like, "Hey, are you seeing growth in the last year?" Well, yeah, we're definitely seeing growth because longer term stays have grown year over
Mhm.
year. I think that was a Skift article. I'm just trying to look for the source. No, AirDNA.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, and it makes sense also, like, understanding the, like, macroeconomics of how the country is in terms of housing. It makes sense that midterm stays are something they're here to stay, especially in, like, larger cities. There's always people renovating. There's never enough housing. Housing is expensive. People are staying,
Yeah.
visiting. There's so many reasons.
There's
Um,
one other tenant type we haven't talked about, and to your point, it's a we should mention it. And these are lifestyle living tenants, right?
mhm.
And think about this. So you can go and you could find a place for $2,000, and that's a 12-month unfurnished, or you can find a place on Furnish Finder for not much more, and it's totally furnished, but more importantly, it gives you that flexibility. So
Mhm.
use this scenario, like, okay, so let's say I don't have 2 kids, and I'm a little more flexible in my lifestyle. So I would love to go to Greece. I love Greece, right? So if I had this flexible living lifestyle, I can get into a furnish finder. I get in. It's a month to month lease for the most part. Sometimes a 3 months, depends on the property. But I find a month to month lease. I give 30 days in April, and at the end of let's say June 1, I'm gone for a couple months out there, and then I want to come back and do some more work and So then I come back and find another monthly rental on Furnish Finder. It This lifestyle living is pretty cool. Not only does it allow you to just pick up and go explore other areas, but think of this: like 12-month unfurnished. What do you need? Well, you need furniture. You need stuff. So now you're tied to all your stuff. Like we're Americans, right? We all have a lot of stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
just check out our garages. But you're tied to all this stuff, right? That you've purchased, and now it's like, shoot, now what am I going to do? Now I'm going to go and get a public storage and put all my couches and TVs and stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it's furnished rentals, so you're not tied down to the stuff either with this lifestyle.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I was wondering about that because when you said travel nomads, I was like, I just assumed I'm like you need a job to go there, but that's not the case because if you're like younger and you're like I want to figure out where I want to live, this is a great avenue for you to be like I'm gonna live in Florida for 3 months and then I'm gonna go live in Spain. So are you guys worldwide or are you guys just in the States?
Yep, in the States right now. It is an initiative for us. So
To
we've
to
targeted 3
expand.
countries that we're gonna roll out to within the next 12 months, if not
Mhm.
sooner.
Cool. And on the people, like keeping in mind that you have the specific, even for your travel nurses, have you guys ever thought about a like membership membership model kind of thing that you pay a flat fee and like you guarantee that you're
Yeah,
in
it's
this kind
it's a
of tier
very
of houses?
interesting conversation. And we've definitely talked about it, but I don't love it. Honestly, as a two-way
Mm-hmm.
marketplace, like you depend on your travelers and you guys as Furnish Finder, well, I'll just say Mike as a Furnish Finder customer. Well, I haven't won
Yes.
Emmanuel back yet, but as a Furnish Finder customer, like why would you want me to limit the amount of people that can come to my website by charging
Mm-hmm.
them, a couple $100? So
Yeah.
ultimately, we've said no.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like booking fees for either party,
Yeah.
and haven't really compromised on the membership model because we think it's
Yeah.
a bit of a wall to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's unnecessary. It
Yeah.
pads, yeah, we would make money without a doubt, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have come at a cost that maybe our customers wouldn't
Yeah.
appreciate.
No, and I appreciate that, and I absolutely agree with you. My question was more around for the people that want to be travel nomads, already know that they're gonna move every so often, pay a membership fee where they're like, we guarantee you that by paying this membership fee, you're gonna find yourself a 2-bedroom house for 2250, where on the average is 2750, and you pay it
That
upfront.
sounds
It's
like a
almost
new
like
business.
you're
Yeah,
you're
I
part of
I
all the
I know
clubs, you know
exactly
what I
what
mean? Like,
you're right.
yeah, that
I
was
know
more my
exactly what
question.
you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah, I love
But
the no membership fee on the other side and the no transaction fee on our side. I think that's super smart. Airbnb should listen to that because they charge us a shit ton of money, but they don't care.
Mhm.
But yes.
Well, we're all married to our business models, right? At some
Hmm.
point, it's like,
Of
okay,
course.
they're married to
Of course.
theirs, we're married to ours.
Of course.
And ultimately, I don't think, yes, we might be able to make more money, but again, I think it will come at a cost, and we just weren't willing to, to charge travelers. That's the one thing we need. I mean, yes, it's a two-way marketplace, right? So you need both, but you have to have travelers, otherwise we are not going to get the properties.
100%.
I mean, the price point that it's set at, it's a no-brainer. That's why
It's a no-brainer.
I was like, try it. I told my
Right,
manager, I'm like, dude, just put them up there and we'll figure it out. Like, see how it goes.
right. Yeah,
So
and that's the goal. I mean, we want people with skin in the game, like, we don't want it to make it necessarily free. And that, again, that's a business decision, and I know the whole, pay per listing versus pay per booking. But yeah, this is our model. It's very inexpensive, and, the amount that you're gonna pay to list is less than you would, pay for a 3-night rental on a vacation rental platform.
Hmm.
yep, I love it.
And there's a
Well,
12-month membership, if I
yeah,
forget to say that. Yeah.
exactly. So again, guys, if you haven't checked it
No
out,
greater.
go check out Furnish Finder. Before we get into the last question, Brian, I want to first acknowledge you and thank you for building a really cool platform that I'm having fun with and learning and helping a lot of people, get into this. And thank
Yeah,
you for coming on here to
likewise.
share your knowledge with us.
Shoot, I appreciate it, and you guys keep doing what you're doing, educating landlords, you guys are making a difference. Like, you're what you guys do encourage people to lose their W-2 to do this full time. They know it's a possibility because they can hear your stories, my story, countless stories. We have a podcast called Landlord Diaries, countless stories over there on Landlord Diaries of landlords replacing their income by doing short term or midterm. So thank you guys for what you're doing. It's really important, and hope you know that the ripple effect, you'll be rewarded for that.
That means a lot. I love that you said replace instead of lose the W-2 income, because like with the extra strings that it comes to, you're replacing, you're not losing anything.
And I know we're wrapping it up, but it's so important. Like I put so much value on after I went through what I went through with Boston Scientific back early days. I put so much emphasis on freedom, and just the freedom to make your own schedule, the freedom to, you don't have to be a slave to that environment anymore. And this is what this lifestyle can do for you, because it's worked for you guys, it worked for me.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, where can the folks learn more about you and Furnish Finder and the podcast and all that stuff before we get the last question?
Yeah, we're at furnishfinder.com. Also own keycheck.com. Keycheck is for all the landlord tools, online rent payment, tenant screening, leases, all those other products that we were talking about. You can check us out on Landlord Diaries on Spotify or iTunes or wherever. And I'm happy to get contacted through LinkedIn as well.
Awesome.
Just give me a few days. I'm not always on it. So
I'm horrible on LinkedIn.
I know.
Give
me a week or so. I'll try to respond
on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Bigger Pockets and LinkedIn. I am so sorry. If you reach out to me on there, please just go to
our intentions are so good. Like, yes, I want to
just
speak to everyone, right?
Yeah, if I just I go in there and they're like, seriously? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's been like 2 months. I'm like,
I know. I get you.
Shame.
Well, the last question that we have ask all of our guests, and I'm going to switch this a little bit, but what is your number one secret to success with midterm rentals?
Number one secret to success with midterm rentals. Ultimately, I would make sure that this is going to sound really self-serving, but you have to be out there, right? Your property has to look good. Your property has to be out where people go in order to find and shop for midterm rentals. So that's a terrible answer, I admit.
No, it's not.
The best thing you could do is here's the answer. The best thing you could possibly do, especially if you don't have a property already, is go get one. Like, I know the interest rates are a little higher now. Don't let that be a hurdle. Get a property. Like, you're gonna learn on the fly. We're adaptable people. God made us that way. Go get a property. You're going to learn. You've got these guys to help. You've got their network to help. They've got their conference to help. You're going to learn on the fly. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. You don't wait to get all the information. Go get a property, furnish it, and let's get going. That's my answer.
Love it. Like Nike. Just do it.
Just do it.
Awesome. Well, Brian, this was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate your time. And again, thank you for everything that you've done for the industry, and look forward to seeing all your success and the expansion going forward.
Awesome. Okay.
And
we'll keep
I promise, Brian, just so that you know that you did convince me. I just sent a shoot out to one of my team members. I'm like, please look at this for this and this property. Nice. So at least by the end of the show, you got us to at least look back into it. So I don't know if you get extra cookie points, but you should.
Okay.
And we did appreciate the show overall, but definitely the platform has changed quite a bit.
Beautiful. And you'll keep seeing that. We've got about 200 staff, about 200 people working very, very hard to bring this to you. So you'll see the improvements, you'll see all of the new features, and just excited to connect with y'all, and good luck on your journeys.
Likewise.
Take care, everybody.
Ciao, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.